Well, for this deep dive, you guys sent in a really cool source, an audio clip about whether you can actually change someone's emotions when things get really heated like that.
And it's interesting because like right off the bat, the source is like, no, you can't really.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it like when someone's emotions are high, logic kind of goes out the window.
Right.
They're not really thinking clearly, you know? So trying to tell them to calm down or like, reason with them just makes it worse.
Yeah, get that.
It's like they're running on pure emotion and like that part of their brain just isn't listening.
I feel like everyone's been there.
Yeah.
It's like telling someone who's like totally terrified of spiders to just chill out when there's like a huge spider right there.
Yeah, exactly. And the source even goes into like a bit of the biology behind this, talking about how our brains are wired to like, survive first. So when we feel threatened, even if that's not like a real physical threat, even if it's just an argument, our emotions take over to try to protect us.
That makes sense. So like, what are you supposed to do then if you can't like try and change their emotions directly?
Right. Well, this is where it gets interesting because the source talks about focusing on their behavior instead. It's like if you can shift what someone is doing, you can actually start to change how they're feeling.
Oh, that's interesting. How does that work?
Well, they give this kind of a wild example about like offering someone food in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, wait, seriously? Food?
I know it sounds weird, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But think about it, when you give someone something to eat, it forces them to change what they're doing.
Okay.
Like they have to use their hands, they start chewing.
I agree.
They might even wipe their mouth.
Right.
And those actions, it kind of breaks the pattern of behavior that's feeding those negative emotions.
Huh.
It's like a little interruption. It's a chance for their brain to like take a breath.
Oh, I like that. It's not about the food itself. It's about making them do something different to like break free from that emotion.
That's it, exactly. It's like redirecting a river.
Yeah.
You don't want to stop the water completely, but you can gently guide it in a different direction.
This makes me think about like when I'm super upset and sometimes someone will just do something totally random like turn on music or start folding laundry and it kind of helps. Like it distracts me.
Yeah, you're subconsciously responding to that change in behavior. It creates a little space for the intensity to die down and your brain to start processing things differently.
So is this like tricking someone into calming down by giving them a sandwich?
Not really. I mean, while any change in behavior can help, the source emphasizes that it's important to choose the right kind of action. And in the case of food, they're talking about offering something that's actually appealing, something delicious.
So not just like grabbing a bag of chips.
Right, probably not. Let's have to think more along the lines of a warm chocolate chip cookie, something yummy.
Okay, I get it. So think deliciousness, not just any old snack.
Exactly. Because delicious food, it releases dopamine, and that's like a feel-good hormone.
Yeah.
So by offering something enjoyable, you're kind of adding in this extra layer of positive reinforcement.
Okay, but realistically, like offering someone food in the middle of an argument isn't always going to work?
Oh, totally. And the source acknowledges that. Remember, the big takeaway here is about understanding the connection between behavior and emotion. It's not just about food. It's about finding those little things you can do to help de-escalate things. Whether it's an argument, a stressful day at work, or even just like dealing with your own anxieties.
So how can we apply this beyond the food example?
Well, think about a time when you successfully calmed yourself down. Like, what did you actually do to make that happen? Did you go for a walk? Listen to some music? Take a few deep breaths? Maybe.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that if I just sit there stewing in my frustration, it just gets worse. But if I can make myself get up and do something, anything really, it helps.
Exactly. It's not about ignoring your emotions or pretending they're not there. It's about creating a situation where they can kind of transform more naturally.
Yeah.
By changing what you're doing, you're changing the environment where those emotions are playing out.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like we're learning this whole secret language of emotions where actions speak louder than words.
You got it.
Yeah.
And it's a language we can all get better at speaking.
I'm really starting to see how this all connects, but I bet our listeners are eager to hear some more specific examples of how to put this into practice.
Definitely. Let's jump into some more scenarios and see how this behavior change thing can really work in different situations. Okay, so let's say you've got a coworker and they're just like in a bad mood.
Oh, yeah.
Like super stressed about a project, and their negativity is like bringing everyone down.
I've been there.
Instead of getting sucked into that, their emotional whirlwind, you could try shifting the environment.
So like instead of saying, hey, cheer up, I might say, let's go grab a coffee and take a walk outside or something.
Exactly. A change of scenery, moving around a little caffeine boost, All those things can help shift their emotional state.
Yeah.
And while they're sipping their latte, you can gently steer the conversation, towards solutions instead of just dwelling on the problem.
That's a good point. It takes the focus away from the immediate frustration and redirects it towards something more positive and productive.
Right. And this whole principle applies to your own emotions too,
Oh, yeah.
Like say you're feeling super overwhelmed and anxious. Instead of just staying glued to your screen, try doing something physical.
Like going for a run or hitting the gym.
Yeah. Or even just some stretches. The source talks about how physical activity releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting effects. But even more importantly, it shifts your focus away from all those thoughts swirling around in your head.
Okay.
It gives your body a chance to actually process that stress and tension.
So it's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
Yeah. Instead of being stuck in that fight or flight mode, you're giving that energy a healthy outlet.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And this whole idea of using behavior change to influence emotions, it reminds me of some of the stuff I've read about therapy.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Well, like with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
it's all about identifying those negative thought patterns and replacing them with more positive ones.
Right.
But a big part of that is changing your actions too.
Totally.
Uh,
It's not just about thinking your way out of a negative emotion. It's about taking action steps to support that shift.
So it's about aligning your actions with your desired emotional outcome.
Exactly. Let's say you're someone who struggles with social anxiety.
Okay.
Instead of avoiding social situations altogether, a CBT therapist might encourage you to gradually expose yourself to those situations, starting with small, manageable steps.
So instead of jumping right into a huge party, you might start by having coffee with a close friend and then slowly work your way up to bigger gatherings.
Exactly. Each step you take reinforces the idea that you can handle it, and that helps reduce the anxiety. It's a process, but by changing your behavior, you're basically retraining your brain to respond differently.
This is making me realize that we have so much more control over our emotions than we think.
I think so too. It's not about being happy all the time, but about recognizing that we have tools and strategies to navigate those ups and downs.
That's such an empowering way to think about it.
And that's what I love about this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not about denying our emotions. It's about understanding how our thoughts, behaviors, and feelings all work together.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm seeing myself and the world in a whole new way.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's like we're uncovering this deeper understanding of what it means to be human.
And hopefully it gives us the tools to navigate all of this with more skill and compassion for ourselves and for others.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into emotions, let's leave everyone with something to think about. This source has really highlighted how we're not just stuck with whatever we're feeling.
Yeah.
We can actually do things to kind of shift those emotions.
What I find really interesting is how many of us already do this without even realizing it. Think about a time when you were feeling super stressed or overwhelmed.
Okay.
What did you do to feel better? Did you go for a walk, listen to music, call a friend?
Those are great examples. For me, sometimes I just need to step away from whatever's stressing me out and do something totally different, like cooking or reading, just to reset.
And that's what's so cool about this principle.
Yeah.
It can be applied to so many different situations. It's not about finding one magic solution. It's about understanding that connection between what you do and how you feel.
So instead of just being trapped in that cycle of, I feel this way, so I'm going to act this way,
Right.
we can actually choose to do something different.
Exactly. We have more control than we think. And this deep dive has given us a whole bunch of different strategies to try.
Yeah.
The key is to remember, it's not about ignoring your emotions or pretending they're not there. It's about finding healthy ways to navigate them.
And I think as you start to pay more attention to this connection between your behavior and your emotions, you'll be amazed by how much power you actually have.
It's like you're shaping your own emotional landscape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a journey. And it's one that can lead to so much more happiness and peace in our lives.
And stronger relationships too.
Absolutely. Well, to all of our amazing listeners out there, keep exploring this connection between what you do and how you feel. Notice those little shifts, experiment with different approaches, and most importantly, be kind to yourselves along the way. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.